How's it going, everybody? Chuck Holton here. Thank you for watching The Hot Zone. Today, we're going to talk about the Palestinian issue. I think it's time to remind ourselves a little bit about the history of the Palestinian problem. So, the Palestinian refugee situation is a really complex, often misunderstood topic, obviously. So, let's break it down for a little bit and talk about some key facts and help you better understand the issue. So, the story begins just after World War II. In 1945, about 1 million Jews lived in Arab countries, and their roots trace back there more than 2,500 years. These are countries like Iraq and Egypt and Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia and Yemen, Libya. They all had significant Jewish populations. When, with the establishment of Israel in 1948 and the ensuing wars, the Jews there were either expelled or fled. Most went to Israel. Today, those countries' Jewish populations are all but non-existent. Now, simultaneously, the 1947 UN partition plan and the 1948 Arab-Israeli war led to the displacement of about 500,000 Palestinian Arabs from Israel. Some left at the behest of their leaders, who promised that the coming war would clean the land of Jews, after which they could return. Others left voluntarily, and a few were expelled. But the war didn't go like they planned it. And the Arabs, for them, Israel took control of that territory. In November 1948, the UN established UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees, to provide aid and support for those guys. And it's the only UN agency specifically created to serve one particular people group. Over 70 years of operations, and with budgets increasing all the time, UNRWA has likely gotten between $30 and $40 billion in total funding, with not much to show for it. Now, here's where things get interesting. UNRWA's definition of a refugee is really unique. According to them, Palestinian refugees are those who lived in Palestine between June 1946 and May 1948 and lost their homes due to the conflict. But here's the catch. The definition includes those who only lived there for 2 years, and here's the amazing part, refugee status is passed down through generations, even those absorbed into other countries. Now, this never happens with other displaced people groups. The perpetual refugee status is really different from the UN's global refugee agency, UNHCR, which defines other refugees as those that were forced to flee due to persecution or war or violence, whatever, and doesn't pass refugee status to the descendants. As a result, instead of being assimilated into their host countries after a generation, the number of Palestinian refugees has grown from about 500,000 in 1948 to about 5 or 6 million today. The perpetuation of that refugee status has been fueling hatred against Israel and sustaining that dream of the right of return now for 7 decades. Many Palestinians still carry the keys to their homes their grandfathers left voluntarily before the war. Homes that don't exist anymore. But here's another fact. Most refugees in the Middle East aren't even Palestinian. There are over 10 million Syrians that have been displaced in the past decade alone. And in the 20th century, hundreds of millions worldwide were displaced due to various wars and conflicts. In this century, millions have fled Syria for Europe. 6 million left Ukraine at the start of the war there in 2022, and more than 7 million Venezuelans have fled their country since 2012. See, population exchanges have been a historical norm since forever. Think about what happened after World War II. Tens of millions of people ended up making a home in new countries across the globe, and many of their descendants are still living in those countries today. Now, unlike Palestinian refugees, Jews that were expelled from Arab countries had lived there for thousands of years. Israel absorbed most of those refugees, while Arab countries, except for Jordan, left Palestinian refugees in camps, often specifically so they could use them as a political weapon against Israel. Today, those so-called camps are heavily populated cities, and they bear no resemblance whatsoever to your local KOA. So the unique treatment of Palestinian refugees has been attributed to various factors. But many people say it's a deliberate means to put pressure on Israel. Experts have noted that the Arab states' refusal to accept refugees could easily be called an attempt to weaponize Palestinians against Israel. And UNRWA has been right there all the time, facilitating that ongoing hatred and division. Palestinian refugees live in Arab countries where they have access to a common culture and a common language. And had this entire people group not been intentionally weaponized, they would have long ago integrated into their new countries and gone on to likely live far better lives. Now, the Palestinian refugee situation is not going to go away until this issue gets resolved. And so maybe the most effective thing Israel and her allies could do would be to abolish UNRWA, first of all, and pressure other Arab countries to stop treating the Palestinian people like a political football. As long as UNRWA is perpetuating this problem and even fostering the hatred of Israel and its education materials, things are not going to change. Listen, there are 22 Arab countries in the Arab League, and Palestinians could certainly find a decent home in any one of them. But there's only one Jewish state, and the people of Israel deserve to live there in peace. So maybe it's time for the Palestinians and the United Nations to just give peace a chance. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.